Hey, it's me, Uncle Ricky. Look, what are we going to do with Greg Abbott and the border? Look, the migrant problem, yeah, it's a problem, it's a crisis, it's a humanitarian crisis. But it's being blown up into an invasion, but they're not. It's hard to call it an invasion because there's no people in uniforms waving flags representing any one other country. They are crossing the border illegally. They refuse to use the legal ports of entry, maybe because they have ulterior motives for getting in here and they know they can't come through the legal ports of entry, or maybe it's because our immigration system is so broken and fouled up, just like a lot of our domestic programs, that it's ineffectual and doesn't work. That's the fault of the people that make the rules, that make the laws, that set the quotas, that do this and that's Congress. And Congress right now, the House of Representatives, is the main cluster, you know what, that's stopping everything from functioning like it should. And one of the reasons that's happening is because it's good for one of the major parties, the Republican Party, the ones that are in the majority, to do this, because it gives them and their Republican cohort governors something to make it look like they're doing something. It gives them a point to project and, avoid, camouflage the obvious that many of their own people have said, you know what, Republicans are in trouble this year because, you know what, in the whole year that we were in the majority, the year and some months leading into this next massive election cycle, we haven't done a damn thing. We have accomplished nothing. We have nothing to show for anything that we have done. All the maniacal stuff that we did, the Hunter Biden probe, all the things we've done to protect, guess who, 45, to keep him from getting 45 years in jail, to make him the next president of the United States, irregardless of whether he's actually eligible to be the president. All the things we've done to hurt all the people in our constituencies, all the things that we've done to fail the people that vote for us. Now, unless we find something else to aggravate them with, now, unless we make something else the spoon in the stew to stir up another victory for the Republican right, we're going to lose. But see, the thing with this is they have no limits, they have no bounds as to the stunts, as to the tricks that they use to do this. And unfortunately, everything they do in this vein is going to affect some people. It could be you, it could be me, it could be some people trying to come across the border legally and illegally. But for once the situation has gotten so far out of hand that both Democrats and Republicans in the Senate have hammered out a deal, and it's not an overnight thing. It seems that they have been legitimately trying to do this for a few months now. Should have been for a few years, but we'll take what we can get. But one side continually wants to throw a monkey wrench into the works. Greg Abbott is the governor of Texas. He's not the king of Texas. He's not the president of the United States. He is taking his gubernatorial powers way outside of the lines of the Constitution. Yes, a state has the right to protect its own interests. It has, but they do not have the borders between state to state inside the United States. That's the governors. But international borders, according to the Constitution, the thing that holds the Union together, that's all federal. Now, the problem, albeit it's bad, it's been bad, and both sides have failed to do what was needed because, I'll be honest, it was beneficial politically, it was beneficial economically, it was beneficial because it was a quick source of, even though they knew that they were breaking the law, it was a quick source of domestic help. It was a quick source of agricultural help. It was a quick source of everything that people in America that were Americans or are Americans that were born on the soil basically refused to do. Good, bad, or indifferent. And that's the bottom line. But now, because they failed to regulate that properly, no matter how embarrassing or degrading or underhanded it was, it's gotten out of control. Just like a lot of things that the government, the Congress especially, because of their hyper-partisan bullshit, because of their just being tone deaf to in both parties of the needs of the people that actually put them in office. Both sides are all for the people when they're running, but once they get in the office, it's all about, well, what bill do I want to be part of? What's my legacy going to be? And oh, by the way, how can I get paid for doing this? That's both parties. All right, but this thing that Abbott is doing, he's either going. It cannot, if it's allowed to continue, it's not going to end well. There's people that have already died. There's people that have been maimed in the razor wire. There's been people, but they don't look at that one because, okay, they can legitimately say, well, look, they try to come across illegally. They get what they get. Fine. But the main reason it doesn't matter is because they're brown people. They don't look like the people that are putting up that razor wire. Now, I'm not saying it's an all-white thing because there are a few conservative blacks that want to join the whites on the border, standing on top of those trailers behind the Concertina Y, having target practice with immigrants coming across the Rio Grande. That's a reality. You see it every day. You see it. You see all the far right wing. We can solve the problem. We can just give us a bunch of eyes and let us line up on it. We can solve that immigration problem. No problem. There's another convoy that just started up today. I was watching a video where they pulled off in Norfolk. It was all of like maybe 25, 30, vehicles. But, it's a big thing with them, that people are starving on the streets of Norfolk, but they want to go to the border and pray. But they're not praying for the safety of the people being trapped and drowning in the Rio Grande. They want to pray for Abbott. They want to pray for the National Guardsmen. Many of them don't have a clue of why they're there. They are worried about what they might be forced to have to do while they're there. And shooting migrants is not one of the things that they're worried about. They're worried about maybe they might have to shoot active duty personnel because the federal government cannot allow this situation to continue. The push on Biden is growing every day to nationalize the National Guard. In other words, make them part of the U.S., make the Texas National Guard part of the U.S. military in entirety, which he can do. Eisenhower did it in during Brown versus the Board of Education case. Took the National Guard out from under the governor's control because he knew that the governor was going to use the National Guard to oppress and attack black people that were demonstrating for equal rights. So he nationalized them, and then that put the National Guard against the redneck and the Klan that wanted to massacre black people in the streets. Yeah, that's part of history. History that certain people, certain governors like DeSantis and Youngkin and Abbott don't want to talk about. They don't want that taught anymore. And one of the reasons they don't want it taught is so that what they do seems like it's new and unique and it's necessary and it never led to bad things before. But it's going to lead to some bad shit if it is allowed to continue. Now, the Senate has come up with a bill. Now, they're not, it's kind of crazy because they're not leaking any, the bill. They got to get it out before, they got to allow the House time to read it and all that. So it's going to come out. But they're not, like, showing their hand, perhaps because not that they're trying to do anything devious, but because, like, the former president, Trump, has already told his minions in the House, especially his pet Speaker of the House, MAGA Mike Johnson.
The president has made it clear that he doesn't want you guys to move forward on this, and judging by his comments, he clearly wants to campaign on this issue. Have you spoken to him about the Senate proposal, and are you simply trying to kill this to help him on the campaign?
No, Manu, that's absurd.
Don't, whatever says, don't do it. I'll take the heat for it. It's not going to affect you. I'll take the heat for it because if you pass it, it's going to take away one of the last pieces of leverage I have against Joe Biden in this upcoming election. It's one of the things that might, keep people in my pocket long enough to keep me out of jail for, because I just happen to be 4 times indicted with 91 felonies. So a lot of stuff is happening that, that might help me out. Like, seems like, Bonnie Willis is, it might not stop the case, but it seems like she's not going to be on the case because, maybe, love took over or whatever. But we're going to use that, and, Comer's still going to, continue to try to grind the Biden, the Hunter Biden thing, wasting millions of dollars in taxpayer money. And, I got MAGA Mike who's going to kill this new bill when it comes to the House. And we're going to keep the country in turmoil, trying to make Joe Biden look ineffectual when it's really us pulling the rug out from under the country every day. That's how it basically boils down. But this thing in Texas, you got guns, you got military vehicles, you got desperate people, and is it really being effectual? All it's doing is making people take larger risks. It's not stopping people from coming to the border. They're taking larger risks. They're getting bolder in their need to come across the border, and they can't come through the legal ports of entry because they are just bogged down. And this is where the subterfuge or the not being completely honest part comes in, because there have been bills to get more border agents. There have been bills to get more electronic surveillance stuff. There's been bills to improve the receiving areas and to make more federally funded space for potential asylum seekers. You have the right to come into the country as long as you come through a legal port of entry and request asylum. It's up to the government to process you through the system to see if you are eligible for asylum. The system is broken, but the numbers of people that are trying to get asylum continue to grow. So if they can't get through where they want to get through, and because usually asylum seekers are running in fear of their life or their family's life, they're going to come in wherever they want to. Whether their request is legitimate or whether they qualify, that's a chance that they're taking. but they have the right to request asylum. Now, Abbott has fortified the border with all kinds of crazy contraptions that are only intended to kill and maim. They're not people that are serious about coming across. They're going to take a chance because either they take a chance on getting screwed up coming under some razor wire, or they take a chance of dying in the country that they were born in. It's not that these people really hate their country. Some of them love their country, but they know that there is nothing there for them, and they just don't want to die just due to lack of sad situation, humanitarian crisis. The same kind of humanitarian crisis that we have talked crap about to people in the Middle East, in Europe, after a war, during a war. But we're not even at war, and we created our own poison, and now our poison is about to choke us to death. Abbott has set a new bar about how much muscle an individual state can flex. The Supreme Court has said if it's the federal government's job to protect the borders, they can remove that razor wire to get to the border areas that they need to get to do their job. Abbott says, we're going to do it. It's setting a standard that, states, when they don't like what the federal government is doing, it's setting a standard that the state can just step out of pocket and do anything it wants to. Not giving any regard. That the Republican Party had all the respect for. Same court system that cat that came down the escalator stocked like a little private pond with 3 prize ultra right-wing conservative justices at the top of the Federalist list. And even the majority of, not the majority of those justices, but the majority of the 9 said that the law trumps Trump. The law trumps Abbott. And they're like, screw the law. We're going to do what we're going to do because y'all ain't doing it for us. But when the federal government attempts to do it, they pull the rug out from under the programs. They don't want to pass the bill. Even Mitch McConnell, Mr. like everything Republican, the guy that actually should bear a lot of the responsibility for Trump getting in the White House the first time and being allowed to run maniac until nobody could stand his ass anymore. He's even saying, look, to the House, to MAGA Mike Johnson, screw all of those nuts. Don't listen to Gates, don't listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and most of all, don't listen to Trump, because he's going to be the death of everything Republican, and eventually probably the death of the United States as we know it if he's allowed to continue. This is the best you're going to get. This is the most comprehensive amount of stuff that the Republicans have cried for. This is actually going to set some limits on how many bodies can come across the border before the president doesn't need the Congress. He can just say, shut the border down. I mean, it's a dangerous proposition because every president's not going to be like Biden that's going to drag his foot to the last minute. A lot of presidents are going to be like a DeSantis or a Youngkin. And, so at the limit's 11,000 a day and it's 11,001, shut the damn border down. Let's put the tanks on the border. Stop everybody from coming across. We don't want any more people that don't look like us. We don't want any more people that are not born here, even though this whole country was started by immigrants. even though this country throughout its entire history has had to have immigrants to cause the expansion and the betterment of this country. But see, now it's like the greedy want to be the greedy. The racists want to be the racists. The ultra right wing religious nuts. They use every excuse to keep the country as white as possible, and that's the only way you can put it. If you look at it, anybody that's not white, anybody that's darker than milk is, I can't say that. Well, let's say anybody that just doesn't claim to be white, anybody that's obviously not, majority Caucasian in the United States, look at how they are kowtowing to the ultra right wing conservatives. Look at how they are adapting the ultra right wing ways just to prove they have relevance. Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, they're all kissing. People will be nice saying the ring, but they're kissing Trump's ass just to establish their own relevance. And anybody that is not white, that does not kiss the head Klan leader's ass, gets degraded, gets swatted, gets talked about, gets just denigrated in the American public. And now we have a whole thing at the border where everybody coming across, 9 times out of 10, 99.9% of the time is not white. So now it's a major issue. Yeah, all these migrants being shuffled off to cities that already have their own homeless problems, that already have their own housing problems, that already have shortages of employment, that already have bad a wealth disparity gap. It's insane. It's only going to aggravate the problem, and that's why they're doing it. The problem is at the border. The problem should have been solved in Congress a long time ago, and now that Congress is trying to solve the problem, at least the Senate is, the same people that benefited from the problem are trying to use the problem as a last-ditch effort to retain power, to keep themselves viable politically, because they have done nothing, but they're willing to gamble, to use human lives. They're willing to be oppressive. They're willing to make a bad situation worse. They're even willing to go to the level of probably eventually, and I'm not saying that eventuality is too far in the future, of killing people, all in the name of conservative Republican bullshit. Well, that's it for me, Uncle Ricky. I'm gonna say, peace out, and really, God bless, because I'm not religious, but I know that there's a higher power, and we need that. Man, it's about to blow this world apart. See you.
Bipartisan order hitting the Senate is already drawing reaction from the Republican frontrunner for president, Donald Trump, who is urging GOP members of Congress to kill the deal, despite no details being officially released yet.
A lot of the senators are trying to say respectfully they're blaming it on me. I said, that's okay, please blame it on me. I'd rather have no bill than a bad bill.
President Joe Biden says the bipartisan deal has been in the works for months.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly.
Oklahoma Senator James Lankford on Face the Nation said the former president and his allies mostly